But that little meaningful click should give you an idea of exactly what I'm capable of.
You're gonna tell me your story.
Stepped aside for your brother. I will not step aside for you.
No one's gone until they're gone.
Hello to all the geek enthusiasts, nerd aficionados, and deadheads. It's time for another episode of MALICECAST TV Talk, the Fear the Walking Dead 3 R's podcast. Reaction, recap, review. This is a spoiler cast. So if you have not watched the episode already, spoilers will be dropping. We are not holding anything back. This is us reacting to what I think was a phenomenal mid-season finale. Season 4, Episode 8. No One's Gone is the name of the episode. So you have me, as always, Mess5150 on the cast. Also joining me, Mrs. Malice. Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
How are you?
I'm fabulous.
You seem chipper than I would have expected you to be after this episode. So
well, no, I liked it. It was a good episode. So
it was a fantastic episode. Also on the cast with us, we have Icy Zorro. How goes it, sir?
Oh, fantastic. I just rewatched it for the second time. After my first watch, I was like, no, dumb. And after the second watch, I'm like, yeah, I'm in. I get it. I like it now.
That means you weren't paying attention to the first time you watched it.
Well, no, I disliked some of the ways that things went, and I was concerned about the future of the series and such, but we'll get into that.
So yeah, what we usually do here is kind of talk about some of the key moments that happened in the episode, a scene by scene type of thing, react to it, thoughts of what happened, all that good stuff. But I'm going to start out, since this is a long break now, because it's going to be
August 12th, I believe.
Is that when?
I believe so.
Hey, and Polyfuse has joined us in the chat room. Hey, Polly, been a long time.
Look at this guy.
Look at this guy right here. Yeah.
Zombieland. Look at this clown.
Hey, I'm not a guy.
So over a month. Well, he's talking about us.
Yeah.
He's gonna say, "Look at that amazing woman there" in a second, probably.
I thought guys was pretty non-gender specific at this point. Huh.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. So, being that it's gonna be a month at least long hiatus till we get any more Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, anything like that. What did you guys think in terms of the episode leaving us where it left us? Are you kind of pissed that we got to wait as long as we have to wait?
I personally have come used to the cliffhangers that both Fear of the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead have bring us over the years. So I'm not upset about the cliffhanger because it has been left on the cliffhanger, kind of. So.
What cliffhanger?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know what's going to happen now.
Well, sure.
Are they still mad at each other? Have they forgiven each other? You know, what's going on? Is John dead?
That's one thing that I do wonder about. But I also still wonder, like, okay, so theoretically Madison's dead. Actually, it's been confirmed Madison's dead. If you watch Talking Dead afterwards, she's dead. She's not gone. She's not coming back. She's not. Just because we didn't see her get bitten or burned or whatever, she is dead. And I've seen.
So they could bring her back though, because you don't see it still. So if they decide,
these showrunners are not doing that. They're not pulling a Glenn.
No,
they're not.
They if you see their name on the in memoriam segment in Talking Dead, they're gone. I know there's a huge theory on the internet right now that she could possibly come back as Alpha, the leader of the Whisperers in The Walking Dead. But no, she's just gone. I know that would be a dumb stunt casting kind of thing.
That would be stupid.
So I'm sad about Madison being gone. I'm worried about. See, here's the thing with this show. At least they have a possible character that could step up and reasonably be the lead. With Rick Grimes departing The Walking Dead, they're supposed to be having Daryl as the main from now on. I just don't see that happening. We've talked about this before. But with this one, Alicia Debnam Carey, who plays Alicia, like, she could possibly be a really strong lead for this series, and I'd be fine with that.
They've set her up to be.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely. Here's the thing. So, yeah, you watch The Walking Dead, and with Rick heading out, you wonder about who the strong characters can be, and Maggie pretty much heading out. There's not very many people that can take on leading on The Walking Dead versus over here on Fear. I can see Alicia being the lead character. I can see John Dory being a lead character.
Morgan.
Strand,
Morgan.
the way that they're writing him now, yes, because he did not get this over on The Walking Dead. That's that's why I'm so glad he's over here, because he would have gone to waste over on The Walking Dead.
He's written so much better on this show.
Yeah, he is.
Absolutely. And even June, which we finally found out her real name.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I could see being the lead character. So nothing surprises me right now. And once again, as we heard before, at some point, Ruben Blades is going to show back up. We're going to get Daniel showing up somewhere at some point, and I could still see him being some type of a lead. So I'm nothing. Losing Madison doesn't affect me as much. I mean, it's a hard loss to see the character that you've really watched the first season through that person's, well, the first 3 seasons through that person's eyes.
The way the way they did it, I mean, the reason why she did it was as she sacrificed herself for her children, for her group, which made her a strong, good leader. So, which is why I liked her.
Polyfuse says he stopped watching because Nick's gone. And hey, Beacon just subscribed for 5 months in a row to Twitch Prime. Thank you, Beacon, for that. If you guys want to subscribe, hit that subscribe button up at the top. We greatly appreciate it. If you want to share some cheer bits, we appreciate that as well. So he said Nick's gone, so he's gone. We'll get
too. I'll agree with that because I like Nick too. He's another one of my top favorite characters. So
Frank Delane was amazing.
Yeah. So let's dive into the episode a little bit, because we're like all over the place. We're talking just about the end pretty much. But I loved the way this episode opened up with Madison sneaking up on someone to steal their car and finding out that it's Althea.
It was super telegraphed though. Like as soon as she said, "I've seen your vehicle, so I know kind of what you're capable of," I was like, "Oh, it's Al."
I didn't even get that. I knew it was going to be somebody, but I didn't know who it was going to be. But seeing that Althea had a run-in with Madison prior to all of what we knew, since at least what we were assuming was after the stadium fell was when she ran into Althea. And they had a back and forth fighting and whatnot.
She ran into Althea before they found the stadium.
Yes.
Which is what we found out later. Yes. So, but yeah, they had a back and forth. I like to call this episode the Battle of the Monologues.
Absolutely.
Which was not something bad to the episode. I mean, the monologues that everybody had were fantastic. It was me really going, like, when Althea is talking about them being realizing that people are in the same world and what they're going through when she's interviewing Madison. I'm like, that's a damn good monologue. She's gonna have the monologue of the episode. And then you have Madison come back with the Wilhelmina monologue, and I'm like, damn it, she's just as good on her monologue.
I cried during that one.
There was so much of Al's documentarian stuff in this one, but it all really came together. Like, finally, we have a reason that she was doing this.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's to make sure that the real truth is out there. So,
and also she ends up running into somebody that she's that's looking for somebody she's recorded. She can go, hey, well, I found them. They're going this way.
Right.
So
Polly is so mad in the chat room right now about Nick's death. If you guys aren't here live watching this, you really should be. So you can jump in the chat room with us. But he's so mad that he was the first one to see a zombie on the show. His girlfriend, he warned everyone. He's always been the survivor, and he gets smoked by a 5th grader.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so we get the whole thing with Althea. Madison steals her tapes. There was something in the tapes, and I don't know if it was in this scene or in a later scene. Did you notice some of the names of some of the tapes?
No.
I didn't really get a chance to look at all the names on the tapes. No.
Let me find this. It's under my bookmarks over here. I got to tell you guys this little
Well,
Easter
if
egg.
it's somebody else that we've met, then this is going to bring me to one of my main complaints about this episode, which is that how small is this universe? Like, everybody runs into everybody all the time.
It's a small
Like,
world.
I know they're in Texas, but have you been to Texas? It's friggin' huge.
It's a small world.
It's not
Well,
that small.
it's a small amount of survivors.
Yeah, sure.
So
Yeah, but there's still many thousands that we've seen, and so Madison ran into Al, and Al ran into Morgan and folk and company, and
but they're not spread
Alicia and
amongst
company.
Texas. They're in one specific area. So I mean, that's
I don't know.
That's
Al
what
seems to
it's-
be traveling a lot.
Al travels a lot. Yes.
And Madison
Yes,
didn't
that-
start off in Texas. She started off in LA and went
Yeah,
down.
Which makes it even more ridiculous.
So it's proof that people move around trying to survive. So
Oh, absolutely. I'm just saying it's sort of what's the word? Implausible that this group of like 9 people would continue to run into each other over and over again over something the size of the U.S.
And
Even
if-
the southern
Well, no.
U.S.
my big question too is if she's traveling around that much, where's she getting the gas for that damn tank?
I
Yeah,
have been
that's
wondering
the
that
one
as
thing
well.
I was thinking about too. Yeah, I was wondering about that one. Yeah, so they talked about on The Talking Dead. There was a tape among her tapes that was labeled Abe and Doctor. So, you guys have any clue what
Abraham
you
and
think that?
Eugene?
Yep, that's
Okay.
most likely because they would have been in the area before traveling to Virginia.
Yeah.
So I want to see that tape. I wanna see
Absolutely
them being interviewed by Althea.
want to
that
see.
would technically leave an opening for somehow for her to cross over to The Walking Dead then. If that's the case.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
Yeah,
dissatisfying.
now they're having a big conversation in the chat room about why Charlie shot Nick. It was an accident. She didn't. I don't think she knew it was Nick when she shot him.
Nick
Yeah,
stole her Care Bear at some point.
yeah, that's what it says in the chat.
My Little Pony.
Yeah. So you get all the interaction between Madison and Althea, and I think it's a great bit of writing going on with the interaction that happens there. And Althea, like I was waiting for Althea to be the one because I keep thinking there's this dark part of Althea because she keeps talking about how she has layers.
Yeah.
So I was waiting to see that Althea was the one that did something to Madison, and it turns out that she's just really is a good person. She's a good guy.
It's basically her and John Dory that are and possibly Morgan when he's not on a psychotic break. They're the only like truly altruistic characters left.
Yeah, and Jack does mention that since they would need to stay close to main roads for ease of travel and scavenging,
Yeah, for
that
sure.
could put more people into the same area.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
So
but
people are bound to
I've driven
cross
through
paths.
Texas. There's a lot of highways.
There's people are bound to pass crowds.
Oh, for sure.
and
Cross.
Beacon is now quoting Shrek in the chat room. Ogres have layers, and have layers. Althea has layers.
Oh,
So-
yeah. Layers.
So we see that flashback, and then we jump right back up to where we left off in the last episode, which is in the stadium amongst the horde of zombies that are all burnt to a crisp and needing to save John Dory by getting to the medical supplies that are there.
The healing pack.
That's
Yes.
all that matters in this episode is saving that man.
They're going to get a power up for him.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, I'm at
To
3% health, but I got the body armor, so I'm good.
Althea mows down a ton of zombies, and does this perplex you guys a little bit? Do you think all those zombies would have gotten shot in the head? I just think
no,
one
they didn't,
or two of them would have.
No, we saw a lot of bullets hitting the ground. But here's my issue with that: all the guns are at the very top of that car, and the establishing shot of the SWAT vehicle. There's a ton of zombies packed up against the sides of that car.
Yeah.
Those ones would not have been touched.
Yeah, especially the ones by the door.
Yeah,
So
but when we pull back and they escape the car, there's like a 50-foot swath in a circle that's just empty.
yep. Apparently they don't know how to write how things get shot around a vehicle. They're not
Well,
good at that.
as our producer, your husband, was mentioning in the pre-show, they don't really know how all the military stuff works.
No, even I'm not even military, and I even know that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so basically everybody wants to help John. Morgan's the one that says he's going to go, to which we get Naomi jumping up and saying that she's going with him, and that, you know, his life is the only one that matters, and, you know, the love story continues. And they go out, and a big old bomb goes off, so there was some type of booby trapping going on in that stadium. Because I was like, oh crap, they just killed, but they killed the whole time. Go ahead, sorry.
It wasn't a booby trap. Alicia shot right before they went in, or right as they.
Oh, was that what it was?
Yeah, she shot with her gun because you know.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a booby trap.
That motherfucker. So she shot. So that's what it was. Because that's what I thought it was too. It was a booby trap at first, and then you see the gun going, you know, and you see smoke coming from it.
Polyfuse says it was the second shooter from the grassy knoll.
She's a great shot.
Yeah. Okay, then that makes sense.
Polyfuse says it was the second shooter from the grassy knoll.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, because the whole time this episode was going, I thought Morgan was gonna die. I thought it was like they're gonna bring him over and they're just gonna kill him.
Oh, I would have been so upset.
Oh, I would have.
Oh yeah.
I would have stopped watching right away. I would have just turned it off.
But no, they survive. Him and Naomi have what I called. What did I write it down?
Are we still calling her Naomi, or are we going to call her June, or are we going to call her Laura?
Well, she is June. She says what her name is later, but apparently I didn't write it down. But I think it was the badass hallway scene. Yeah, Morgan and Naomi, badass hallway is what I call it.
No, they're just working through, mowing down everything that gets in their way. Some really nice staff work from Morgan there.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's my boy.
And we find out Alicia, Strand, and Luciana, I wrote her name down so I'd remember this time, have shown up at the stadium. They are full-on bad guys at this point. Absolutely. Just mowing, trying to kill everybody that's there. Nice little conversation happens between Alicia and Althea about like, so you've chosen your side, and Althea's like, yep, I've definitely chosen my side.
Yes.
when she keeps getting shot at.
Yeah, she says something along the lines of like, oh, I am most definitely on their side.
That's the thing about the writers, and I've noticed it in both shows. They make you think one group is a bad guy, and same with the other, and it makes it like with all the monologue they did in this episode, everybody's a bad guy. Almost everybody was. Except for John.
And possibly Morgan. Yeah.
But they were the only two that didn't monologue. So they were the only good guys.
But
John even monologued a little. Yeah.
John monologued a little.
But his was just about, I love you, please be cool.
His was a conversation.
Well, no, his was the monologue into the camera.
Yeah, it was.
But that was a final goodbye. So that's not really monologue.
Hopefully not final.
Yeah. No, I know what John's okay. John's I don't foresee John. They saved him, but in that scene, we didn't know if he was going to get saved. He looked dead.
Yeah.
He looked dead a couple of times.
I was like,
yeah.
Damn it. I was like, don't dare.
There was a couple of times where I was like, is he breathing? Is he breathing? No, he's not breathing. Oh, no, he breathed. Okay. John Dory is one of the things that I do kind of like about this show versus The Walking Dead is that being the moral center does not necessarily mean you're dead. In The Walking Dead, if you are the group consciousness or conscience, you're going to die. Dale died. Andrea, basically anybody that comes to a completion of their moral journey is about to die. In this one, John started out as a genuinely good dude and has done nothing but be a genuinely good dude. And I'm really hoping they don't kill him.
Lynn was another moral compass too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Herschel. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, Herschel definitely was. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, so Charlie starts videotaping everything. She videotapes John Dory as it looks like he's saying his last goodbyes. I love the comment that he says to Naomi, to June, and it's stop running from people. But I love how he says it. He gives this little like kind of chuckle right before he says it. And I just the acting that comes from him is so fantastic that the love for that character, I don't see them killing him off anytime soon.
I really hope not.
Yeah.
That was Emmy worthy. Just lying there, barely breathing, and delivering that kind of stuff. He was great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then the next scene that we get majorly is the what we were talking about in the pre-show, the missile launching or RPG or whatever it was that was shot at the SWAT van. And
yes, our producer was referring to it as a I believe, light armored weapon. That's the sort of thing that when you shoot it at a truck like that, that truck is not there anymore.
Yeah, and that truck stood without a problem until the door just fell off, which I thought was a great bit of comedic writing.
It was.
Althea's response of, "Could you help me with this door first?" I was like,
I know. The interaction between the two of them on the radio and in person is fantastic. This thing is like a tank inside a bank vault. You're never getting in here. Door falls off. Hey, can you help me with that door? That was brilliant. But I have a couple of problems with this. One, at first, I thought the door got yanked off somehow, and I was like, how did they get a tow truck in there to just what happened there? But if it just fell off, okay, I get that. But my second problem is they have like 5 minutes of conversation after that in the truck where you can hear the walkers banging on the outside. None of them are coming in the door. That door is still open.
It's high up.
They don't know how to use steps. Yeah, they don't know how to use the steps. Remember, Jack Malice has said in the chat many times that the attic is the safest place.
Well, then we should never have seen a zombie upstairs that wasn't originated there. We should never see them pile up or run over each other. Like they would have gotten in there at some point. At some point,
it would have taken them a while, and it hadn't been a while yet. Also, my theory, I got a new theory about the door. What they did is they tied a bunch of zombies together and they had them pull the door off.
like a sled team?
Yeah.
Mush!
What they were actually trying to do was a zombie had a bad tooth, so they were trying to pull his tooth off, but the door ended up coming off instead.
I actually did that as a child. It was terribly painful.
Yeah, no. So, so
the worst part was it didn't work at first, and then I wanted to go to the mirror to see how much affected it had, and forgot that my tooth was still tied to the door. So I started walking away and went, yeah. That pulled it right out.
Okay. Yeah, kids, don't do that at home. Don't try these things at home. Only for professional.
We were dumber in the 80s.
So, yeah, so then we get to the interaction in the truck between Althea and Alicia, with Alicia threatening to kill Charlie, which at that point, that's where I was just like, full on, Alicia's a bad guy. It's when you're ready to kill the kid, it with no remorse. Alicia had literally no remorse in her eyes whatsoever.
I can sympathize with her. I mean, the girl killed her brother,
and that was one of the lines.
And she thinks June, whatever her name is, killed her mom.
Althea. Oh yeah.
So here she is at this point where I got both of them. I'm gonna take them both out. So I can.
But see, that was
but at the same time, it's a bad thing. But if I was in her shoes, I hate to say it, I feel the same.
I agree on the Charlie thing, but that at that point in time, that was writing just screwing with us, making it seem like June, Naomi, Laura did something to Madison. She did squat to Madison. Yeah. She did nothing at all to Madison. She did nothing wrong, period. And Alicia was just out to kill her just because.
If Alicia had killed June, it would have made her a bad guy at that point because of that.
Well, and we find out later when they're doing the whole monologuing towards the end into the camera That basically they couldn't find Lorna June, and because they couldn't find her, they assumed that it was her fault somehow.
No,
Like,
no, she says, Alicia straight out says, we assumed you were in the stadium and you were dead.
yeah.
So it wasn't that they couldn't find her and assumed it was her fault. They assumed that she was in the stadium and died in the stadium.
So then why, when she sees Lorna June again, does she immediately go to, I need to shoot this person? I don't get
because
that.
she's alive and her mom's not. And she's pissed.
But then she goes on a vendetta. It's dumb
exactly.
character motivation.
That's what I mean. That's what
WTF writers.
Yes, WTF writer moment. Yeah, it was just something to progress the story for the last few episodes. But the motivation, once you learn the reason for the motivation, it makes Alicia it makes her a bad person, which
Yes.
Because the way the way that Madison talked about in this episode about her kids makes sense. She sees that dark side in the kids and she doesn't want them to have to do that type of stuff. And this whole episode, the whole arc of Madison's story, talking about trying to find somewhere safe for her kids so they could live a normal life, so they wouldn't have to do those terrible things.
So they wouldn't be the bad guy.
Yeah. And it shows that Alicia, for this entire first half of the season, was a bad guy. She, if not for Morgan and his wonderful way with words, she would have stayed a bad guy. Period.
She basically pulled a Robin Williams in what's it with Matt Damon? Good Will Hunting. It's not your fault. He basically just like, you know what? I know you don't want to do this. It's gonna be okay. And she like put the gun against his chest, like, you don't want to do this. And she just breaks down. It's like there's no actual convincing or motivation there. It's just, come on, I know you're better than this. And she's like, yeah, I am.
It's all Morgan and the power of his stick.
Well, and that was, I mean, John Dory saves the day again by letting them hear what's going on. Actually, in the SWAT van, because
the walkie-talkie gets dropped.
Althea to tell her that it's safe and to come out and everything, and then Dory pushes the button so they can hear what's actually going on in there. And that's why Alicia goes down there, because basically she's going to take the war straight to them to kill Naomi herself. And like you said,
there was barely a transition between those two scenes, and all of a sudden she was just there.
Yeah, she just walked down. She was just, you could tell Alicia has no fear. She is essentially at this point a mixture of her mom and her brother, because she is walking with purpose like Madison did. She is like, I'm going to achieve whatever I have to get the goals that I need to get. But she's walking like Nick did when he wasn't scared of squat. Like
he wasn't scared of death. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what she is doing right now. Up until that, until she starts crying on Morgan's shoulder. But
just cover herself in blood and walk with the zombies.
Jack is very insistent. We pointed out that John Dory is the man every single one of us hope we would be in a bad situation. He's basically John is perfect.
Absolutely.
My husband's in love with that man right now. Okay.
Oh yeah, he's the ideal that we all hope we would be in that situation. Whereas the reality would be closer to Rick Grimes or Morgan Clark or Madison Clark.
Watching,
and also welcome Super Hoovy and Nut into the chat room as well. So
the fact that I'm now watching this series proves that guy is that good, because my husband wouldn't watch it any other way.
Yeah. And I would love to say other things that Jack has said about Dory, but we can't say them on this cast.
No, it's a PG-13 at worst.
Yeah. So come be part of the cast. It won't be back for a month, but come be part of the cast. This is your last chance. So we get the monologue from Morgan on the things can change to Alicia. And I mean, what did this make you guys? Was this the first scene? Because for me, this was the first scene with Morgan where I was like, thank God he's not on The Walking Dead anymore. Yeah. Because it was that scene specifically when he was talking about, and I'll get the exact words on it, but before we go into those words, I mean, what did you guys think of that scene? Was that the one that was the saving grace where you're just like, he can never go back to The Walking Dead. He needs to stay over here with these writers.
When he was on The Walking Dead, he was a bad guy. he comes over the Fear the Walking Dead, he is now the good guy. He is like John's sidekick, or John's his. Well, husband's not gonna let me say it, or John's Morgan's sidekick in the light of good of this TV show.
Justice League.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think he was the bad guy on The Walking Dead. I think he was
No.
one-dimensional.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was unstable. We're not sure what he's gonna do, guy.
And it would make
Yeah.
him do bad things. But coming over, since he's been over here, he's been nothing but good, saying all the right words, guiding people to be good because people need people, and he's not clearing anymore.
The writers on this show treat him so much better than the writers on Walking Dead did. I hadn't even considered the possibility that he would cross back over. I'm convinced that he is here to stay on Fear the Walking Dead.
Well, I'm sure he is as well. I just, you never know with Reddit being out there. There's always different things that'll go on, So, but yeah, his monologue was, I tried to get away from people, from everything, from everybody, because I thought I had to. Somebody told me that I would end up with people again, but I didn't believe him. I didn't want to believe him, so I ran halfway across the country to prove him wrong, which he walked. He didn't run. And here I am. Well, he ran at the beginning. He ran at the beginning.
No, he was wounded in the leg.
And here I am standing between your gun and someone I just met. Boy, things can change. They did for me. They can for you. Things can change because look here, I'm not dead. I stepped aside for your brother. I will not. I will step aside for you.
I will not step aside for you.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever typed this up typed it wrong. I'm not going to say who the article's from because I don't want to throw them under the bus. But type your monologue right, people.
And also thank you for doing it in the first place.
Yes, thank you. You're right.
But yeah, Alicia was like, you're going to give up your life for basically a woman he doesn't know.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for him to say, I don't die. when he walked up to
I don't die. Everybody around me dies. I don't die.
If you go back to when Morgan first met Rick, and Rick does ask him that question, why did you save me? He says, because, he says something to that too, you need to save people pretty much. You don't know me, I'm a stranger. Why'd you save me? Because I want to save you.
Yeah. And that kind of goes to what Madison is saying towards the end of the episode before we see her die when they first discover the stadium. She's like, somebody helped me when she had no reason to. I think it's time we start doing that.
Yep.
So I think this episode kind of had a theme along those lines.
Saving people.
Yeah.
Whether they're right or wrong, you save them.
Jack is still proclaiming his love in the chat room for John Dory. He is a perfect moral center, and on top of that, he is an expert gunfighter.
Yep.
Exclamation point.
And he's very handsome.
He's fiery.
Yeah. So
I have been a big fan of Garrett Dillahunt for a long time.
He can fish too.
yeah.
And he can play Scrabble like crazy.
Yes.
We talked about this, how great this scene was with Morgan and with breaking Alicia and bringing her back to a human person. But right before that, this is why I was kind of still on the side of she's just a straight up bad guy, is right before that is the scene where she finds the tape of Amina, which is short for Wilhelmina, which was a bird that they found as children, and they did everything they can to save it, and they actually saved it. This we learned from the story from Madison. But she finds the tape, she watches what Madison has to say about her children, about them not turning into these bad people.
Yeah, how
and
is
she goes
not
out
just
and tries to kill June anyways. I know it took Morgan to snap that last bit, but just that, I want to know what your thoughts are. Just that video, watching it, shouldn't that have gotten Alicia to kind of,
here's my thing. Any normal person, any non-crazy PTSD person would have watched that tape of their recently deceased mother talking about how much they loved their kids, how much they loved you, recalling a story of how great you are as a moral person and character. Any normal person watching that would have been bawling their eyes out. And she's just looking at it like, yeah, well, crap. I guess you met my mom. So I don't know if that was intentional, if that was an acting choice, if that was a directorial choice, but it kind of shows how numb Alicia has become.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
and it took an extra jolt to get her back. I mean, in a way, she was good when they started this series, and she drifted off to bad. I mean, the girl's been through a lot. So losing her brother and her mom so close together, that would drive anyone to turn into what she would turn into.
Plus 4 or 5 years of zombie apocalypse can't help.
No. So yeah, it took an extra shock from Morgan to snap her out of it, which thank God he was there, because then she probably would have killed them both.
So, do you think this is going to come out in the upcoming episodes? Do you think it's a factor of Alicia putting the blame elsewhere as opposed to herself? Because in all honesty, she is as much, if not more, to blame than all the people she was going out after to kill, just because they went out, her and Nick went out to get Mel.
Yeah. She is
they not
far
been out
more
there, those gates never would have been open.
She is far more to blame than Lorne June. Yeah.
I think she's going to do what her mom wishes. Because either way, she's always listened to her family. So I think she's going to try and do what her mother had tried to do. I honestly believe that.
And we sort of in that last. So here's a question that I had in one of those last scenes where Al is filming everybody's story of Madison's final day. Was that supposed to be all shot at once, or was it intentionally supposed to be everybody giving their individual story?
It was shot at once with everybody talking about it.
Because every time somebody different speaks, the camera is focused squarely on them. It's not like she was taking her hip shot camera and going like,
yeah, but it would have been. Yeah, I don't think she was panning around to like, this person talks. They're finishing each other's sentences.
It made and the way that they were finishing each other's sentences made me feel like they were giving interviews at a different time because they were saying the same thing but in different tenses. Like she did it to save her.
I want to see. Mrs. Malice is so.
I am.
Right now. I want to see what she has.
One person's talking, they stop, and then someone else starts talking. They show her turning her camera towards them. So yeah, it was all of them talking at once, and her just turning her camera to focus on that person, and then turning it back when the other person would talk again.
I must have missed that part because what I heard, like just the way the dialogue was, it was like, oh, she did it to save her kids. And then Luciana says, she did it to save her. And then Alicia says, she did it to save me. Like, are you guys just in a chorus? What's going on? No, I didn't see the camera movement thing.
I really hope if that's what they were doing, Mrs. Malice, I honestly hope that they weren't doing that because I think that comes off more weird on the video. I think it gives it more power if they're saying they're taking excerpts from different parts of their whole stories together, but if they're all telling the same story, that gives it more power to understanding that this is what happened.
Like if they were all telling their own individual versions of it and then the same things kept coming up over and over again, that's more powerful to me. But if it was all together, then Alicia gets to hear Lorne June tell her version of what happened there. And I feel like at that point she can kind of like go, oh, it wasn't your fault. I'm sorry. Sorry I tried to shoot you so many times.
It could have been done like that, but you gotta remember they only have an hour. So you gotta think of that too. So they had to probably cut some of that out too. You guys, and I know Weston notices this, but when what's his name was recording Madison, the light on the camera was yellow, and in that scene, the camera lighting was white. So it's the whole past and present thing with the lighting in the camera light.
Yeah, I did not catch that. Mrs. Malice, she beat me to catching that. So, everybody gets into the SWAT truck. They save John's life. He's all looking good and healthy. They record their story that we were just talking about, and we get what finally happened to Madison. That in all the chaos of trying to save her children, and then everybody being afraid that the stadium wasn't going to hold, and trying to run out on their own, and them all getting killed off, and Naomi running off, and ending up with the caravan, and Madison takes she uses her life to save her kids. She starts directing the zombies into the stadium with a flare, and hoping to get back out, is still cut off from it, so she locks herself in there, and we get her re-saying to her kids what she told Mel when Mel was telling her that you're living the way that people used to, that you can't live this way anymore. And she says nobody's gone until they're gone, which she's gone. But what did you guys think of that scene? Because I had a little bit of problems.
I did too.
With the video style. I don't know if
I had problems with the story.
Okay.
It was like the pretty blonde girl in a horror movie running up to the attic to get away from the killer. Don't run inside the fortified place that you can't get out of the walls through. Like,
well, she had a plan. She just
situational, I'm sure.
Backfire.
Yeah.
I just felt like that was sort of a contrived way to get rid of the character as a story point. I feel like there were other ways she could have gotten out of that, misdirected them, directed them away from her kids, that wouldn't have ended up with her having to die.
Yeah.
But I get that they, that's the plot point they were going for, so they did it that way. I get that.
They wanted to
I just
kill
had problems with it.
They were trying to kill her, so that's what it was. And I like the fact that she was willing to sacrifice to move the zombies away from her children and her group, but I literally didn't like the fact that the way they killed her. So I didn't like it. I thought it was stupid too.
I agree.
Walk into an area where there's more zombies, leading more zombies. I mean, what do you expect to happen? You're gonna like throw a rocket on your back and fly out of there? Like, no. It's not gonna
Well,
happen.
she is Rocket Man. I don't know if they told you that.
Well,
She is the Rocket Man.
I think the hope for Madison was that, there'd be enough space within that area that she'd be able to circle back around.
Yeah.
By the time she got him over here, she'd be able to come back this way, and the zombies would have followed that path. But that's what they said. What happened is that when she was coming back around, there were still zombies coming, and it was like, oh crap!
She was trying. You remember the old calculator game Worm, where you have to circle around and not hit your own tail? She was trying to do that, but the tail was too long.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. But I think it was a very powerful ending. I think it was a fantastic. Yeah, it sucks the way she died, but I like that she went out. When you take a lead character that, like I said, this story has been through her eyes for the most part, and you are having them die in the series, let them go out on their own terms, and that's essentially what she did.
Yeah.
And I like that's what they did. I'm hoping that she lit them on fire and then shoved that thing in her head so that she didn't turn into a zombie.
She threw it. She threw it into the straw and it lit up.
Did she throw it? Okay.
Yeah. She threw the flare and it lit up the straw that was on the field there, and all of the zombies, of course, were covered in oil. So when you see her face get all lit up, that's because she just threw the flare into a pile of oil zombies.
Okay.
But I love the fact that she, like, if she had to die, I love the fact that she died according to her character's core. Yeah. She has always, from day one, been about protecting those kids and trying to make life better for them. And I love the fact that if she had to die, she went out doing exactly that.
Made her a great.
Well, this was the same thing that happened to Chandler Riggs. Basically, they just dropped the bomb on her. The funny thing here is the actor that plays Nick, he wanted off the show. He has other things that he wants to go do, so he asked for them to write him off the show. Yeah. She was planning to continue doing this role. She had no intention of leaving the show. And she had an interview with Entertainment Weekly. I want to read some of the points on this. And they said, when did they get the news to her about it? And she said it was about a month before we started production on season 4. She went in to talk to the producers and the new showrunners about how the season was going to work. And they sort of broke it to her that they had their storyline, and that vision was for Madison to meet her demise in the mid-season finale. So it was like, how are we gonna,
as much as I like the new showrunners, and like I said, the episode Laura is maybe my favorite episode from either one of these shows in this entire TV universe. One of her quotes from Vanity Fair, she said, "I spoke to the new showrunners and the producer before going into production this season, and they told me that's why they saw the story going this season, and I was heartbroken. I was devastated. Like, as good as these guys have been, and hopefully this leads to even better storytelling, but man, I'm sad to see her go."
Well, and I'll ask this to both of you. do you think you bring in these showrunners, and do you think this is them basically because this show was Kirkman came over to help create the show originally, and he's still executive producer on it and stuff. But once again, he's moving over to Amazon.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah. Do you think this is the show going? This is our chance where we have to separate ourselves as far
You
from.
think they're trying to put their stamp on it?
Yep.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah, I could see that too.
But I hope that it's in service of better storytelling.
Yeah.
Because season 1 honestly was a little shaky. Season 2 was decent. Season 3 was really good. Season 4 so far has been fantastic.
Season 1 for this series for me was very boring. It took me
Yeah.
long time.
Paulie is glad that Madison's gone, and that's a point that was made in one article that I was reading. Is in season 3, people wanted Madison to die because they said she kept stepping all over all her kids' decisions, and it goes with. They did a really good job with setting this up because we talked about it last week. Was Madison dead? Was Madison alive? I think I was the one that said that I think she's dead. Which, hey, out of 40 different claims of things, I got one right. So every once in a while you hit a bullseye. But I just lost my point. What I was going to say.
Where they wanted her to be dead before because where they wanted her to be dead before because how she kept on trampling over her kids' life and choices.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and that's what I mean. Yeah, they said, yeah, that's a mom. Yeah, absolutely.
But they have to rebuild her character.
They rebuilt her character.
Yeah,
but they didn't really. I mean, what you see of her in this season, there was
is
nothing.
All flashback.
Yeah, and it was nothing like character changing development wise to the character. There was nothing in this season that made me go, God, I can't wait till Madison comes back, and I really hope she's gonna come back as a badass. And there was nothing there that made me want to see that character again. Unlike Daniel, where I always want to see Daniel pop up.
I want to see Daniel again.
Ruben Blades is a badass. Please get him back.
The show. Daniel and Nick. And I like Madison too, but she was third. So I want to see Daniel back. He needs to come back.
Well,
this is what I want to see with Daniel, and I want to see it for the next few seasons. So the first time we think Daniel's dead, he comes back, and you find out that he survived the fire and he's got burn marks on him. I want to see each time he comes back to have more scars and start like missing limbs and stuff, and just see him just keep coming back each season after going and thinking he died from something.
He's like the Terminator.
I think that would just be the most awesome thing.
He's the Walking Dead Terminator.
By the end of the show, he's just wearing a gimp mask because nobody can stand to look at his face anymore. He's just a mass of scars.
He's just got somebody pushing him around in a little car.
Zed's dead, man. So here's the thing. They didn't actually rebuild Madison's character. What they did was they had her not in the present storyline at all, of course, because she's dead. But what they did was when they showed her flashbacks, she was doing nothing but altruistic stuff. She still had the same attitude. She still had the same focus, the same goals. She was still the same person. But all we saw in the flashbacks was her being like, this is for my kids. We need to help people. Blah, blah, blah.
It was a dead woman walking.
Yeah. And here's a question that I have for both of you. Are we ever going to see what happened after the dam, and do we even need to at this point?
This is what I said last week. I don't want to.
I don't either.
No.
But at the end of last season, that was like a huge thing. That was like, oh my God, we need to see what happens. What are they going to do after this dam exploded? And they all, like, how is she going to rescue them all? And then they skip forward a couple of years, and it's like, yeah, we don't actually care that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Mrs. Malice? I mean, is there anything that you could think that would be even the reason to go back to from that? I mean, they do try and plant a little bit of a seed of like, hey, some stuff happened because you've got the
with
Strand's
rock. Yeah.
You've got when she finds her kids.
Yeah,
you're over it already. But no, they even planted seeds in this episode where she was, when telling Althea, I've lost everything, and then she finds her kids and she's like, is he okay? And Nick's like, off in the corner, like
her bad. So they keep dropping you those little like hints that they're gonna.
It's better now that you're
At
here.
this point, we don't care because Madison's dead, Nick's dead. We don't care
So is that
anymore.
that when she found them at that roadside motel, that was supposed to be her finding them after the dam?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's her finding them.
Oh, so yeah, we're
Well,
already good. We don't need to see anymore.
But okay, there's two stories that I can see them going back to on before the dam, and this is why I'm saying it's probably not going to happen. Is in that same interview, the Madison, I can't remember the actress's name, Kim Dickens.
Kim Dickens, yeah.
She said that she has no idea what's coming in the second half of the season. She has not seen any of the scripts. She hasn't. She's completely out of the entire process.
Yeah.
So
screw you. You're done. Go home.
Yeah. So, but there's two storylines. Like I said, Daniel. If Daniel is alive, which they've said he's coming, he'll be reappearing in the seasons at some point. So, storyline of what happened with Daniel, and the other storyline of how did Nick and Luciana come back together? Because the last time we saw Luciana was in the middle of season 3.
The ranch.
Yeah, when she ran away from the ranch.
Yeah, exactly. So,
I don't know. I mean,
those are the only two
far,
stories that I want connections to. But once again, now that Nick has asked to be written off the show, it's like
Frank
I don't need that connection story anymore. Yeah, I mean, you now that he's dead, it's what does it matter of how they would mean nothing. Reunited?
Yeah,
you have to bring him
it
back.
would be just a filler episode.
It'd be a filler, and he would have to bring back Nick.
It would be filler. It would be anachronistic. It would be. It's not necessary at this point.
It would be.
Well, it's not something we.
Luciana just say what happened versus them doing a flashback too.
Yeah, absolutely. If she could drop it in the conversation,
that's
like
good.
if she was just like, oh yeah, me and Nick got back together after all this, then that led to this in some conversation in the second half. I'm fine with that, but we don't need to see it.
No, we don't.
Yeah, because okay, this goes back to how great the writing is over here on Fear the Walking Dead versus The Walking Dead. I honestly would expect an episode like that from The Walking Dead because there are so many filler episodes on The Walking Dead now.
Yeah.
There is no reason to do any filler episodes on the Fear the Walking Dead. They've been so good and concise with how they're doing everything that
consistently strong.
Yeah. So it would be a shock to me for the writers that are over here and the showrunners that are over here to do something like that at this point.
Even Laura, which was as close to a bottle episode as I believe the show will get, that was still super meaningful and powerful and well written.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I was coughing and my eyes were watering.
It happens.
I'm so sad that Madison's gone. No, yeah. So,
I've been tearing up a little this whole
You're more sad that Rick's leaving The Walking Dead than you are that Madison left.
I reserve judgment until we see how they do it.
Exactly. The way I know you guys didn't like the way it happened with Madison, but like I said, she went out on her own accord. I hope the same thing for Rick, because if Rick
I can tell you what's going to happen. Negan's going to get better and he's going to kill Rick. That's what's going to happen.
Well, no, you know what happens? Every time that somebody asks to be taken off a show, they get taken off in some like ridiculously stupid matter. Look at Nick getting killed by a fifth grader, as Polyfu said. Dale, when he died, because Dale was
ganked when he got ganked by the walker that Carl didn't kill in the mud puddle. Yeah.
So now that Rick's leaving on his own accord, that Andrew Lincoln's leaving, it's going to be some bogus way that he gets killed, and it's just going to be like
he gets thrown from the horse.
It's like Scott Gimble holds grudges.
Gimble. I'm wondering if they're even going to I'm wondering if they're actually going to kill Rick, or if they're going to send him into some sort of exile where it wouldn't make sense for him to be part of the group anymore. But if that, no, they have to kill him.
They're just going to drag it out too. They'll drag it out too. Find out what finally happens. There's bits and pieces throughout the season, and then finally at the end of the finale, we'll know how he dies.
We got Polyfuse starting back up again.
Flashbacks, sitting on the tree crying again, because that's what they do over there at The Walking Dead.
The chat is great right now.
Yeah, we got Polyfuse started back up again. Cliff was a great character, and just when he's evolving, they kill his ass off, and we're stuck with Madison. At least we had Nick, and bam, they kill his ass off too. And then Super's so pissed about Dale.
Still, that was in season 2. It was friggin' 8 years ago.
Yeah, it was.
She's like, "Oh, Dale was the worst death."
So we like to usually.
in the comic books, Dale doesn't die until later in the comic books, but in the TV show, he dies right away.
That is another guy that asked to be written off the show because he didn't like what they were doing.
Oh, he didn't like how they treated the Frank Darabont, how they fired him.
Sure, yeah. So that's another guy that asked to be written off and got an ignominious death just out of nowhere. Like, oh, well, you're dead now. Cool.
Oh, here's a zombie. It's gonna eat you. You're dead. Somebody's got to shoot him. He's not full dead.
Oh my God, Super's just going nuts in the chat room right now.
I love it.
So yeah, we like to, if you guys have watched any of our previous Walking Dead casts or Fear the Walking Dead casts, we usually like to keep this stuff a little bit more concise, a little bit more structured on the way the episode went. But I knew this episode was going to be a love fest type of thing where it was like, hey, we don't have any episodes for a month and a half to really dive into with the Walking Dead universe. And so this was a very loose, let's just talk about everything and do a straight out reaction. It wasn't so much a review, this recap this time, but come back when the show comes back every Monday to talk Dead with us on Fear the Walking Dead or The Walking Dead. Mondays, 9 p.m. is when we do these chats. We will have another AMC.
Like I said, I believe it's August 12th that the show comes back.
We expect to see all you Deadheads back August 12th to talk about the
13th.
13th to talk about the mid-season premiere of Fear the Walking Dead. Until that time, on Mondays, the plan is, and I'm calling out their names. We've already talked about it, so they should be here. But we will have two of our other gents back on TV Talks with us on Monday nights to talk the Preacher cast that we were doing for last season. So Beacon and Big Papa Matt will be joining me for that every Monday, 9 p.m. But before we get into that, we'd like to close out this show and talk about where we can follow everybody. So, Mrs. Malice, where can we follow you?
Yeah, Mrs. Malice 4134 Twitter.
You forget your username again?
I do every time. Like I do.
What were the numbers again? Childhood address. Oh yeah.
But it's not childhood address.
Where can we follow you, Mr. Zorro?
At IC Zorro on both Twitter and Instagram. It's mostly pictures of wine stuff, my day job, but also links to stuff I find interesting.
Nice. And you can follow me on Twitter at @mest_MaliceCorp. This is the time where I'm going to give shameless plugs like crazy because I haven't been giving them throughout the show. But always check out our website, www.malice-corp.com. It's written right there below. You see some of these great Twitter handles that are here as well. We have multiple different podcasts that are both audio and visual. Every Friday on twitch.tv/MaliceCorp, we have the live MALICECAST, which is the podcast for all things nerd news, geek news, pop culture, you name it. Come join us live, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Twitch every single Friday. Except during winter months, which is going to be a while. We also have Quest for 100, which you see there as Quest for Movies. That is Beacon and the Big Papa Matt trying to watch 100 movies in a calendar year in the movie theater. So go check them out on Stitcher and iTunes. We have Malice Corp Smack Talk, which is our wrestling podcast that is both here on Twitch and on YouTube and on Stitcher and on iTunes. So go look them up and check them out. We have Nerd Mosh Pit, our adult version of MaliceCast Live. Go check them out on Stitcher and iTunes. We have Comics for All, which is all for comics here on Twitter. That is our comic book podcast. Go check them out on Stitcher and iTunes. Mark Millar follows them on Twitter.
Exactly. Recently followed by some high-profile comic book folk.
So if he's following them, you should be too. And lastly, if you're heading over to the malice-corp.com website, make sure to hit that Amazon link if you're buying anything from Amazon. It helps us out. You get all your stuff that you would normally be getting. If you've never used Audible before, Beacon loves using Audible. I know that they're doing, I think right now, that if you sign up for your free trial, you get 2 books right now with it, and you can go through our link for that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, and then we do have a producer named Jack Malice that you can follow on Twitter at Jack_Malice. So throwing that little bit in there. Until then, you guys keep surviving. We're all infected. Stay alive. And we'll see you on Friday for MaliceCast Live.
Do whatever it takes.
Carry on.